Hello everyone, this is Omega Zula's channel, and today I want to show you the abilities of this hero, how their animation looks like. Ramantu Drake's Blood is a void legendary from Lizardmen faction that can only be earned by completing the advanced progress missions released in patch 4.20. It will take a while before we can earn Ramantu, as it requires you to complete all the missions, one of those requiring you to earn Gomlock Skyhide, which is the final legendary champion achieved in Doom Tower Hard. The Lizardmen once ruled the almost all of Teleria. Their realm was called the Empire of Dragons, and they themselves were called the Dragonkin. They were a proud, strong people, and their histories stretched so far back into the depths of time that they speak of the gods as people who walked among them, rather than as abstract icons of worship. It must have seemed impossible that something so ancient and unchanging could be destroyed. The fall of the Empire of Dragons was sudden. The wrath of Siroth came upon it with such violence that it wiped the Empire's home archipelago of Torsalin Istriv clean of all traces of civilization. The annihilation of the two imperial capitals, All Reach, buried by molten rock, and Twin Rift, drowned by the sea, left what little remained of imperial authority to languish and fragment. Within a few decades, even the suzerains who ruled the far-flung colonial provinces were gone, and the Dragonkin engulfed themselves in civil war. Those who remained turned their backs on their heritage, declaring themselves the kin of nothing more than lizards. Prince Ramantu, the one they called the Drake's Blood, lived to witness all of it. He lived to see the future of the Empire of Dragons slip through his fingers and turn to dust, no matter how desperately he tried to save it. Ramantu's shard gave him immortality, but the Arbiter gave him a reason to live. Those very few who know the Arbiter well say that Ramantu is the name she calls when she faces an enemy, a trial, or a defeat too insurmountable for even her to overcome. It is a name she calls when all around her would betray her. A name she calls when she has lost hope. They say that the Arbiter has 1 billion wards, 1 million soldiers, 1,000 allies, 12 equals, but only one true friend. Of all her champions, only a precious few would she ever draw from their shards just to speak, share a glass of wine, and her secret fears with. Of all his life's achievements, it is that friendship that Ramantu Drake's Blood values most. The rest, he would say, is dust and regret, and like time and the Arbiter, he marches onward. Or he would, if he could. The Arbiter has not called Ramantu from his shard in centuries. It is not only her weakness of magic that restrains her from speaking to her friend and ally, but also weakness of spirit. The Teleria that Ramantu fought so hard for centuries before has been all but lost to corruption and strife, all under the Arbiter's watch. Ramantu Drake's Blood skills. Attack 1, Psychic Overload, attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance of increasing the cooldown of one of the target's skills, at random, by 1 turn. Has a 25% chance of placing a stun debuff on the target for 1 turn if a skill has its cooldown increased to the max. If the cooldown increase is successful, will also decrease the cooldown of one random skill by 1 turn of the ally with the highest turn meter and a skill on cooldown. Attack 2. Drake's Fury. 3 turns cooldown. Attacks one enemy 4 times. The first hit has a 75% chance of placing a 60% decreased def debuff for 2 turns. The second hit has a 75% chance of placing a 25% weakened debuff for 2 turns. The third hit has a 75% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. The fourth hit has a 75% chance of placing block buffs, debuff for 2 turns. Also has a 75% chance of placing a True Fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn if the target has 4 or more debuffs after the attack. Attack 3. Blood Wings. 4 turns cooldown. Attacks all enemies. Has a 80% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies before attacking. Also has an 80% chance of placing a block active skills, debuff for 2 turns on enemies without passive skills. Also has an 80% chance of placing a block passive skill debuff for 2 turns on enemies with passive skills. And his passive effect, Arrogance. Whenever an enemy places a stun, sleep, freeze, fear, true fear, or provoke debuff on this champion, will instantly fill this champion's turn meter by 30% and place a 30% increased speed buff and a shield buff on them for 2 turns. The shield buff is equal to 30% of this champion's max HP, and his aura increases team's accuracy in all battles by 80. If she had the power to summon Ramantu, it is not clear she would use it. For that reason. If the Arbiter's power ever returns, though, or if another is imbued with enough strength to aid her, then Sirith and his demon spawn will have much to fear. For in the great many years since the sin of dragons, Ramantu Drake's blood has taught them all a painful lesson. When they stand against the last prince of the dragonkin, they will taste defeat, no matter their strength. This was Omegazulus. Thank you very much for watching until the end. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Until next time, see you soon.